I imagine you work pretty hard for your money, right? But what you don't know is you're quietly losing thousands of dollars every single year without even realizing it. Now, these aren't the obvious expenses that you see on your regular budget. What I'm talking about is the silent wealth killers. Those sneaky forces that drain your money little by little until decades later, you end up looking at your account and wonder why you still feel broke. Today, I'm going to break down the 5 biggest wealth killers that you currently face: taxes, fees, interest, inflation, and opportunity cost. I'm also going to give you real examples so you can see exactly how much these could be costing you. Then I'll show you how to start plugging those leaks so your money stays in your control. So let's get into it. Let's start with everyone's favorite: taxes. The single biggest expense for most people. Between income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, property tax, and capital gains tax, it all adds up pretty quickly. And if you currently live in Florida like I do, you know those property taxes aren't no joke. So let's talk about a real world example. If you earn $100,000 a year and you're in a 22% federal bracket and pay around 7% in state local taxes, due to the progressive tax system in the US, you'd end up paying something like $24,000 in taxes every single year. Over 30 years, without adjusting for inflation, that's about $720,000, poof, just gone. We're talking about almost $750,000 in taxes alone over that 30-year period, folks. And that's before we talk about the opportunity cost of that money not compounding for you for your entire life. So, what's the takeaway? Wealthy people don't just file their taxes. They plan for them. They use proactive strategies like tax-advantaged accounts, strategic deductions, and even the right business structures to keep more money compounding for themselves. If you want to start building wealth, I advise looking more into how you can begin to limit the amount of taxes that you pay. I know that's kind of an obvious statement. I always like to fall back on reading though, because I find that there's a lot of knowledge in books. Who would have guessed, right? I suggest starting off with Tom Wheelwright's book, Tax-Free Wealth. He's famously known for being Robert Kiyosaki's tax guy. Next up, let's discuss those sneaky little fees. If you've got a 401k, mutual funds, or any other sort of managed account, you might be paying between 1% and 2% in annual fees. That sounds small until you run the math. Let's say that you invest $200,000 at 7% for 30 years. With no fees, you'd end up with about $1.52 million. All right, that's pretty solid. But if you add on a measly 1% annual fee, that drops down to around $1.17 million. That's $350,000 gone just from a 1% fee. Bump that fee up to 1.5%, which is also not that uncommon, and you've lost over $500,000. The best way to make more money is to first keep more of your money. Wealthy people watch their fees like a hawk, you guys, because every dollar lost to fees is a dollar that no longer compounds for them. My suggestion: audit where your money is currently going. Even if it's into the 401k at your work, you have the ability to ask about all the fees that you're currently paying. If it's more than 1%, it might be time to consider some other options. Don't let fees be the thing that destroys your wealth. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our old friend, interest. And I'm not talking about the kind that you earn, which I love. I'm talking about the kind that you pay, which I'm sure we're both far less a fan of. Take credit cards. The average APR in this country is around 20%. I have credit in the 800s, but my average credit card annual percentage rate is probably closer to something like 26 or 27%. And I'm sure yours probably is too. That's why we pay off the balance every month though, right? That's what we're doing. No free money going to the banks. Got to get it from somebody else. So how does this affect you? Well, if you have a $10,000 balance and only make the minimum payment, you could easily spend over $5,000 just in interest alone before you even pay it off. And that's assuming that you don't keep adding to the balance, which we both know you most likely will, because that's how credit cards work. Mortgages are another example. On a $300,000 home with a 6% interest rate over 30 years, you'll pay an additional $347,000 in interest. That means you'll own 2 homes, right? Unfortunately, no. You just paid more than double for the one home that you currently have. Pretty cool deal, right? That's interest working against you, my friends. So, how do we fix this? You've got a couple different options out there. But what I can tell you is that the wealthy try to flip this equation because they want to be on the receiving end of the interest, not the paying end. That's one of the reasons why I love the infinite banking concept. It lets you recapture some of that interest instead of just sending it to the bank. But more on that another time. Now, you might be thinking, I can just make a few extra payments, which is 100% true. That'll help you cut years and interest off of your payment. But then what you've done is just lock more of your money up into a vehicle, aka your house, that you don't have access to, come an emergency or an opportunity that presents itself. But one other solution outside of infinite banking is to look into the first lien HELOC, which provides you with liquidity so you can put that money to work while continuing to pay down extra on your house without locking it up so your cash isn't inaccessible. I've got a video on my channel explaining exactly how the first lien HELOC works, which I'll link right up in the corner. Number 4 is inflation. We all know about this one. This is the silent wealth killer that you feel at the grocery store or at the gas pump, which, quick side note here, I don't know if this is something that happens in your guys' towns or if it's something that I somehow never noticed before this point, but I currently live in Florida and the gas fluctuates at 20 to 30 cents at least 2 to 3 times a week. It's absolutely insane. I don't know what's going on. Does this happen to you guys where you live too, or have I just been completely out of the loop? Anyways, back to inflation. So if inflation averages 3% a year, the rule of 72 says that 24 years from now, the cost of living will double. So if your family spends $50,000 a year today, in 24 years, that same lifestyle could cost $100,000. But here's the painful part. If your savings are earning less than inflation, like a bank account at 0.5%, you're losing money safely every year. $100,000 in the bank today earning 0.5% with 3% inflation will only have the buying power of $55,000 in 25 years from now. That's why it's so important to store your cash in vehicles that grow faster than inflation. Obviously, there are a ton of potential vehicles out there that can do that, but before I put any of my hard-earned money into any of those vehicles that involve risk, I like to first run it through my private banking system, which I know has guarantees and I can count on it to outpace inflation over my entire life. Then I'll go and disperse it into other investments like private lending and real estate deals that have risk involved, so my cash is always protected, but I'm still growing at a higher rate. And finally, last but certainly not least, is opportunity cost. Now, you may not know quite as much about this one, so let me explain. Opportunity cost is the money that you could have earned if your dollars were working somewhere else instead of where you originally put them. Here's a quick example. Let's say that you keep $30,000 in a savings account for 10 years earning 1%. At the end, you'd have about $33,150. But if you had put that same $30,000 into something earning 5% annually, you'd have about $48,900. That's a difference of $15,750 simply because your money wasn't working as hard as it could have been. So the opportunity cost of this scenario was $15,750 because that's the amount that you gave up when deciding to put your money into a place that only earned you 1%. Now sure, you could always make the argument that there's some place out there that could be earning more, so there'll always be an opportunity cost, which is 100% true. The problem is just as easily as you put your money into the vehicle earning you 1%, you could have put it into the vehicle earning you 5% without any additional risk, which I think is oftentimes the biggest consideration for a lot of people. This is why wealthy people keep their capital in motion, earning, compounding, and ready to act on opportunities when they arise. And if you follow this channel, I'm assuming you probably know exactly what vehicle that they put their money into to accomplish that. It's a properly structured whole life insurance policy with a mutual company. Shh. So let's recap what the 5 silent wealth killers are. Number 1, taxes. Number 2, fees. Number 3, interest. Number 4, inflation. And number 5, opportunity cost. If you can spot these holes in your financial system, you can start plugging them. And every dollar that you save from leaking out is a dollar that you can grow for you instead of it disappearing into someone else's pocket. That's exactly what I help my clients do when walking them through the legacy lifestyle process, which includes strategies like infinite banking to help you eliminate debt, reduce taxes, and keep more money compounding tax-free and in your control throughout your entire life. If you're ready to start plugging your wealth leaks, head on over to legacylifeandretirement.com and book yourself a free consultation, and let's just chat about your unique situation. Understand, this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, you guys. So if you felt like you got some value from this video, do me a favor, smash that like button, drop a comment below letting me know which of these 5 you feel is the biggest wealth killer in your life currently, and don't forget to subscribe for more wealth building strategies. As always, you guys, the information is free, but the knowledge is priceless. I'm Sean King, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.